Yeah.
I think we're probably ready to roll. We got.
Oh, yeah?
It looks like a whopping 15 people live.
Okay.
But that's great. These 15 people are gonna know how to make shepherd's pie when we're done.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we've got all the ingredients in front of us that we need to make a shepherd's pie. We've got some butter. We've got our mirepoix, which is basically carrots, onions, and celery. 1 part onion to a half part carrots, half part celery. We've got our lamb with some fresh garlic on it. Tomato paste. Fresh chopped herbs. This is rosemary, thyme, and parsley. Some salt and pepper. Flour that we're going to use to kind of thicken the gravy, so to speak, on our shepherd's pie. A little Worcestershire sauce and beef broth that's going to make up the gravy. Peas, frozen peas, pretty easy. And then we got here our mashed potatoes. These are the best mashed potatoes money can't buy. If you were here and had money, we'd probably sell them to you. But follow that recipe. You'll never have mashed potatoes. You'll never eat mashed potatoes the same way again. You'll never go back to putting them in a KitchenAid and whipping them, or with a hand mixer. These are the riced mashed potatoes are the way to go. So we're going to get started. I'm cooking on an induction range today. An induction range is kind of a cool piece of kitchen equipment. It basically reacts to things that are magnetic and causes through the way it rotates the molecules inside the actual stainless steel in this case, or a metallic metal, it actually causes it to heat up with not a lot of heat underneath. Like I can touch this and it's cool to touch, not like a burner that would actually burn my hand. It's not cool to touch, it's warm, but it's not gonna burn me. So we're gonna melt our butter first. Memory serves, it's about 3 tablespoons of butter. In our recipe, 3 to 4. Can eyeball it a little bit. Now it's starting to melt a bit. We're gonna go ahead and stir our onion, carrots, and celery in. And we're gonna cook this for about 5 minutes, just to soften them up a bit. Got a bowl in the sink. And we'll stir that around. We're actually using Irish butter, Kerrygold today. Again, how could we not use Irish butter since this month has been entirely Irish for us? I could use one of our Irish coffees as well as we're doing this. What do you think, Uma? Go get the JMO.
Actually, in the honor of Irish, we finished the JMO.
In honor of Patty's Day, there's no JMO left.
We don't have any more JMO left. But
What type of onions are those?
These are just yellow onions here.
Would red onions work if that's all I had in the pantry?
I probably wouldn't use red onions. They're going to be a little bit too strong. I mean, you can still use them if push comes to shove. But, you know, you probably want to use a sweet onion for this. Not something that's quite that pungent. This is kind of a very French thing, mirepoix, that we're doing right now. Again, it's 2 parts onion to 1 part carrot or celery is the idea, but it's a basic base for all French cuisine. If you're making a stock, if you're making a sauce, it's the ratio that gets used.
What if I don't have butter? Can I use oil?
You could use oil for sure. Like you could use just a regular vegetable oil. Doesn't have to be butter. Just any type of cooking oil works. Yoda and Soda are being feisty tonight in the background. They don't like all this weird noise. Someone's gonna go get them. Any questions or comments from the chat?
Just that they love Kerrygold.
Oh yeah. It is good butter.
What's special about Kerrygold versus others?
Well, it's a European butter, so it tends to have a higher dairy fat percent. Here in the U.S., that dairy fat is pretty profitable, so they tend to remove a lot of it from the butter and use it for other things. But again, it just has a higher fat percent. It's really good for making like pastries too. If you were to go and like try to make a croissant dough, I would use European butter over the regular butter you can get at the grocery store. Like Pelugra is a really tasty butter. They do cost more. That's the only downside, right? So again, they're a little bit more rich, a little more decadent. It's almost there. We get in about another minute. You can see we're just cooking this until the onions and carrots. The onions and celery start to lose some of their color. You can start to almost see through them, when we're getting to right now.
What if I get distracted, walk away, and come back and the onions are brown? Do I have to throw it away and start over?
If they're a little brown, what I might do is stir in just a little bit of water, and that tends to get rid of the brown. I'm turning everything more of a golden color. It's also a trick if you want to speed this up. We could actually add a little bit of water to the pan that we're cooking in, and that steam, as the water dissipates, will cook the onions and celery and carrots faster. It's a technique called sweating. It's really funny. When we were at when I was going to culinary school, there was a chef that would tell us to sweat our vegetables, but the way he said it, he had such a heavy European accent. It was like, sweating your vegetables. We were sweating in them. It's really funny. So everyone, like to this day, like every time I'm like adding that, I go, sweating your vegetables. And you gotta smell on them, smell on the vegetables.
He still makes fun of people's accents. Like, even though he married to me, he still makes fun of people's accents.
Never.
I'm trying to get him out of it. But it's not like making fun of it. He's making memories out of their accents.
Oh, memories, yes. All right, so we're pretty clear now. The vegetables are getting kind of soft. So we're gonna go ahead and add our lamb now to the mix. So again, this is roughly 2.5 to 3 pounds of lamb, two containers of it. 2 packets from the store, I should say, and our 4 cloves of garlic. And you might want to move Yoda to the floor. She might be a little more comfortable. Or move her out here.
So Joey just said,
What's that?
the lady who was talking about burning onions knows a lot about burning
There's not about burning onions.
Knows a lot about burning food.
Food in general. There, Joey, we just helped her out. All right. Got our lamb in here now. Go ahead and start to brown it next.
If I don't like lamb, can I use hamburger meat?
Yeah, you could use beef in this. It's kind of sacrilege to do that because it is shepherd's pie, so you didn't hear me say that. But if you can't find the lamb, you of course can use beef in this dish. Lamb's got a pretty unique flavor and even aroma. Like it's very rich.
What about
Again, it's a totally
ground
different
turkey?
flavor.
Could I use ground turkey?
Yeah, ground turkey would be a healthier option for this for sure. And we are this lamb is pretty fatty, so we are gonna strain it after it gets brown, just to get some of that fat off of it.
Could I use a meat substitute? Like,
impossible meat.
impossible meat? Yeah, if you hate yourself.
Oh,
If you want to discuss your guess.
I'm pretty sure we can use it.
I'm
I would
anti-fake
love to
meat.
have a vegetarian meat.
How about you just cook a nice salad, make a nice salad then if you want to eat vegetarian. Don't try to turn things that aren't meat into meat.
Keep your opinion to yourself, Michael.
Uma has a different stance on this, I take it.
Yes.
Induction burner is a little slower than the stovetop, but that's okay. Spill a little here so we can clean it up. Just a little bit. Any other questions from the chat?
will the meat continue to cook when it's in the oven? So does it need to be fully cooked now?
Oh, we'll go ahead and fully cook it now. It won't. The oven we're gonna have at about 400 degrees. It will cook out a bit more, but again, some of it still is like we're still softening the vegetables. We want to get some caramelization on the meat too, which we're doing.
Can I do this on my stovetop if I don't have one of these?
Oh, of course. Yeah, you'd be doing this over high heat on the stovetop if you didn't have one of these.
I mean, that's what actually we typically did. We are cooking here so that it's easier to film
Yeah.
on the induction. So basically, Chef Mike thought like, hey, you would be better off with the induction with a different top, so he ordered
Well,
one.
plus it gave me an excuse to order an induction range. It's starting to get pretty brown here. It's getting there. Just give it a minute.
Can you make it spicy? Like at this point, can you add something spicy?
Oh, if you want to make it spicy, you can definitely make it spicy. It's not traditionally something that's spicy.
I know.
But yeah, if
He
you want
wants
to add,
that Indian twist.
he wants an
on
Indian
the-
twist. You
Or
want to
like-
throw some
jalapenos at this point.
jalapenos. I want to go jalapenos with this. Like if we're gonna go Indian, you know, I just hit it with like some cayenne or some really heavy chili pepper, some curry powder, a little. You could definitely make an Indian twist out of this, though. I mean, it's pretty similar. I don't know if you've had like a Jamaican beef patty before, or a lamb patty. There was like little pastries they serve, but it's like curry powder and ground up lamb, and similar filling to this.
Yeah.
To make it these
So
pastries.
officially we crossed the 17-minute threshold because last month,
Yeah.
17th minute is when we
The
When
computer crashed.
When we had our
We
epic
crashed.
failure.
Our epic failure.
so this is already we are in the success zone.
I feel.
Yeah,
I
thank
feel
you,
accomplished.
Lisa. So Lisa already planned quite a bit ahead, and then we did few test drives. Thanks to all
Sober.
the effort.
Sober.
Now actually we are in the success zone. I think.
Not in the middle of a Sunday fun day.
Yeah.
So it's taking a little longer than anticipated. Our induction burner's not quite as strong as our stovetop, but that's okay. We have improved our video skills. I hope you've all noticed.
Yeah. Okay. By the way, next time actually we are going to be both YouTube and Facebook Live. So it's more and more easier for people to watch it and participate, chat, leave your comments, etc., etc.
You're gonna have two computers to watch on both feeds then, right?
Yeah.
You'll have people on Facebook Live and people on
Yeah.
the other
So by the
channel.
way, so we have selected 2 of our subscribers for flower bouquets.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we can go ahead and announce them.
We might do a flower demo later this month. We'll see.
Oh yeah, so we are adding new things to our.
Living your best life with Muma goes beyond cooking.
That's
exactly.
right.
So
Yatin says, I know where I'm having dinner tonight. Come on over, Yatin.
on over.
We're gonna have plenty.
Bring some cigarettes. No, just kidding. Just kidding.
Uma.
That's not living your best
That's not
life.
living your best life.
Or it's the best life. Joke.
Who's all on the chat? Identify yourselves. We don't know who's watching. We can't see
Yeah.
who's there.
So how many of you have watched our mashed potato video?
Anyone? Bueller?
And it's important to watch the mashed potato video because,
You need those mashed potatoes to make your shepherd's pie.
and what's the secret of your particular mashed potatoes?
My secret with mashed potatoes, there's 2 secrets in the video. First, you steam the potatoes. You don't boil them in water and let them soak up a bunch of water, because water does not have flavor in it, right? And the second secret, instead of mixing the heck out of them, we put them through a potato ricer. Mixing them will change the starch, make it kind of waxy. Where doing it with the potato ricer, effectively just mashes the potatoes, right? Through kind of like a fine sieve. But then you're not whipping the potatoes, which actually make them waxy. And you want them they'll stay mealy and starchy, and then that'll help you soak up a lot of salt and butter and cream into them when you finish them up on the stove. You'll end up with potatoes that look like this, right? Look at those. I may have tossed a little extra butter in there just for good measure. But try that recipe next Thanksgiving. Hit it up on the holidays. I guarantee you'll like it better than any mashed potatoes Grandma's ever made.
So just a
Grandma's awful. She's never done anything right.
First time actually Mike met my parents, he called them Mr. and Mrs. Potato.
Uh-huh. Like, gave birth to this spud. It's not real.
But, you know, I mean,
I think we need to take the vodka away from Muma.
He did say that. That's how I know like how much he loves potatoes, because he loves them too much. But
we
he
do
knows how
have-
to cook them.
We do have a question. How many servings does this recipe make?
Yeah.
This recipe actually probably serves about 6 to 8. You could actually have the recipe if you were doing it for a smaller audience, and you'd be fine. So our lamb is pretty well cooked off at this point in time. There's a little bit of grease, so we're gonna go ahead and strain it now.
So why do you want to strain it?
We just don't want all that grease in the final recipe. Lamb's pretty fatty, so that'll just make it really oily in the end. I might cook it just another minute or two here, because we're getting a little bit of water. We want that to cook down a little bit, because that water does have like all the flavor from the onions and stuff.
So
Yeah, about there.
what happens actually if you don't strain it?
If you don't strain it, it'll just be really greasy. Like, it'll be really oily when you eat it. When you put it in the oven, you'll see that oil kind of bubble up over the top of the potatoes.
But do you not think people like that as well?
I don't think so. It's too greasy. It doesn't taste that great. Yeah. We're looking pretty good here. Onions are pretty well cooked down. We'll go ahead. I think we're ready to strain it. So let me go over here to the sink. I've got a little strainer set up on the sink. I'm just going to strain that right into the strainer. Let the oil and stuff just come off.
Did you let the oil go down the drain?
Yeah, it's fine to go down the drain. This is a pretty big sink, and there's not a ton of it. But it'll be fine.
Of course, if anything happens, I'm gonna be the one who's cleaning up.
So I'm just going to shake it just to get the grease out. My induction range's beeping at us, so it knows it doesn't have a pot on top of it. All right. And we're going to go back over here. Just going to put that pot back on the stove from the little induction range. And we're going to stir in our tomato paste. Probably 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. And a 1/4 cup of our fresh chopped herbs. The herbs are rosemary, thyme, and parsley. Probably used about 2 parts parsley to 1 part thyme, 1 part rosemary. It smells really good when we tossed all that in there. We're just going to work this for just a minute or two. Try to get all that tomato paste evenly in that lamb. I'm also going to go ahead and add our salt and pepper now. You can add that towards the end if you want as well. It doesn't really matter.
What if you're trying to avoid salt?
You could just omit it from the recipe. It'd be fine. Or use half it. Maybe just use half the amount I'm using. It's not overly salty as is. Add that now. Salt's sticking in here a little bit.
So for the month of April, we have chosen 2 of our subscribers based on the engagement that they have done. Pam and Cassandra are going to receive 2 flower arrangements.
Designed by you, Uma?
Yeah,
Designed by Muma.
me.
Yes.
So what do we need to do for next month to be the winner?
Basically, engagement. Like, you know,
Yeah,
if you
post a picture of one of our recipes.
Yeah, so basically they were 2 of them who were able to
Share
cook and share their recipes and
photos on Facebook and Instagram, you mean?
Exactly, yeah. So the higher, you know, the engagement is, like, you know, we want to appreciate that, and this is one way. Of course, you know, we want to appreciate Kathy as well, so we are hoping for another opportunity to encourage Kathy or include Kathy in the same.
Are we going to see a photo of these flowers to ensure that it's worth all this work?
Yes. You will, definitely.
So we just kind of sprinkled 3 tablespoons of flour over the top of that now. And we're going to work that in there. kind of evenly throughout the meat. We're doing that just so that when we add the next step, which is our liquids, the starch doesn't clump up. But this, in fact, we're kind of like making a roux right now with a little bit of leftover grease that's still in the meat that we didn't put down the drain or get rid of. But at least this question, it's okay for that little bit of grease to go down the drain. It's not a ton. It's not like we threw a cup of bacon grease down there. All right, we're going to stir in our beef stock next. 2 cups of that. And then roughly a tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce. That is sick for me. And we're just going to heat this back up till it comes to a simmer. And it'll kind of make a sauce for our shepherd's pie.
What if it still looks dry? Should I add water?
If it still has some dry, you could add some more beef broth you got, or you could add a little water. Red wine would also be nice if you got some of that. I prefer things that have flavor than actual water. Water doesn't have any flavor.
So just I can pour it right from my glass into the...
Yeah, of course. I mean, if you want to give up what's in your glass, right?
Better to stick with the beef stock.
Better to stick with the beef stock. I agree. So it's starting to thicken up, as you can see. Kind of made a little bit of gravy. I'm going to go ahead and stir in our frozen peas. I'm just going to cook them just a little bit. There's about a cup of frozen peas.
So were they frozen right out of the refrigerator, or or the freezer?
You could use them right out of the freezer. They'll be fine. This is going to go in the oven, like we said, for 25 to 30 minutes afterwards, just to get a nice little bit of brown on top of our potatoes that we're going to put on top of this. But so by the time they're done in the oven, they're going to be fully cooked.
Okay, you want to say hi to Caitlin and Jared?
Hi, Caitlin and Jared. How's it going? Thanks for signing on. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead. I've turned the induction range off now. I'm just gonna put this to the side. A little towel underneath it. And we're ready to do our potatoes. I'm gonna put my pan in the sink because he's a dork. That's okay. We'll forgive him.
So one more time, Sarita's question.
Yeah.
How many servings does it make?
Again, this is probably about 6 to 8 servings. You can have the recipe and it'd be about 4, right? It's kind of probably closer to 8 servings, I would say. This is
4
one.
or 8, like I'm confused.
This is 8 servings.
Okay.
If they wanted to have it for less people, it's easy to do. The recipe is to be cut in half.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So we sprayed our pan with this little non-stick cooking spray. Just to prevent
Is there a
sticking.
particular pan spray you're using, like a high heat or olive oil?
No, not really. You could use any of them. The straight up pan usually works. Whatever Costco's got on special is typically what we got in this household. So.
That's not true. Well, we get the Costco's best. So.
Playing too many pots and pans. Again, I can do this right now because that induction range is actually cool. So we're just gonna spread that over the top like that so it's evenly across. And we're gonna start putting some mashed potatoes on top of there.
So am I putting this on my stove if I don't have an induction range?
I wanna put on, if it's hot, no. You can turn the heat off, you could do it though.
Or I can just put this pan on my countertop?
Yeah, on your
And-
countertop. I'm just doing it because our potatoes are right here, right?
So the heat is off right now underneath?
Yeah, the heat's off. And as soon as I turn that heat off, it's not hot anymore. That's the cool thing about an induction burner. It's cool underneath. It's basically just the heat. It's causing the molecules inside the pan to basically, are in the middle in the pan to spin and heat up. So the pan's getting hot, but that's it. And then the food sitting in the pan gets hot.
Could I use cauliflower potatoes instead of mashed potatoes?
You could.
Or cauliflower mash?
You
mashed
could
cauliflower?
definitely use a different potato, a different starch on like that on top, as long as it's something that's mashed. You could, instead of cauliflower though, I might use something like mashed parsnips
Like, can you teach us how to make cauliflower mashed potatoes?
I could teach you how to make mashed cauliflower. I couldn't teach you how to make cauliflower mashed potatoes because I cannot turn cauliflower into mashed potatoes. Into
Semantics.
a potato.
Clearly, he's not really talented.
So no, clearly he needs to go back to culinary school.
I guess so. This audience is
How
tough.
to transfer potato or cauliflower?
I think I
into
need a
potato.
new live audience, guys.
Can we put biscuit mix on top?
Oh,
Yeah.
heck yeah, you could put biscuit mix on top. That's much better than cauliflower.
That's Mike Lingo's go-to. Whenever he doesn't have potato, he just mixes it.
Biscuit mix.
biscuits.
I mean, it's the same kind of thing. You could turn it into more of a shepherd's pot pie. Put this
Oh.
biscuit on top.
Okay.
So can we just kind of evenly put those potatoes on top of the shepherd's pie here?
Do we want to make sure it covers the meat completely?
I'm not, because I'm being lazy. I just kind of like it in the center. The other thing you could do too that's kind of fun, like we could have cooked the shepherd's pie meat in here and just put the potatoes on top of that and put the whole Dutch oven in the oven. It's kind of a fun way to do it. We just got a lot of servings here.
Okay.
But you give other options. You could basically cook it anything. You don't have to cook it in this type of vessel.
Are you cooking for a whole village, just like how you always do for
Pretty-
the entire Forest Park village?
Pretty much. We usually have company, so everything we do is in mass quantity.
Yeah.
What kind of pan are you using?
This is just a 14-inch roasting pan. Again, you don't have to use this type of pan. You could use any other type of pan, just whatever you want to put in the oven. It's got to be oven safe. So at this point in time, we'd be ready to put our shepherd's pie in the oven. So I'm gonna move some stuff around. It going from 400 degrees for roughly 25 to 30 minutes until it's brown on top.
400.
400 degrees.
Okay.
But here I have one that we did earlier. That's already baked off for us.
And that's for a conventional oven, right? 400 degrees?
Yeah, if you're using a convection oven, we might turn that temperature down a little bit, more closer to 375, if that's how we're doing it. But here we got a really pretty shepherd's pie.
So this is
Ready to
cooked
go.
for how long?
This is cooked for I cooked it for 25 minutes. I didn't shut the heat off and just kept it warm in the oven. So it's been in our oven for roughly 30 minutes while we're doing our demo, but this is what you want it to look like. Nice golden brown on top, a little bit of crust on those potatoes, really good. We can garnish it with a little bit of fresh chives that we just picked from our garden. Make it a little pretty. Maybe give it a little bit of pepper too, just to help with the appearance a little bit. And the fun thing that I like to do too is just kind of salt the top. The first thing you're going to bite into is those potatoes, so you want to make sure everything is well seasoned.
Good idea.
And that's it.
That's a finishing salt.
Finishing salts, yes. Shepherd's pie, everybody.
Good job.